India is a densely populated country with an intriguing culture, a place where beautiful landscapes contrast with crowded and dirty locations, and a unique blend of mysticism and exoticism that stirs our emotions. Here, street foods are prepared in a way considered disgusting by most of us. Would you dare to drink this delicious protein shake? Or would you dare to take a relaxing bath in this crystal-clear river in South Asia? India occupies a strategic position bordering the Indian Ocean, the Arabian Sea, and the Bay of Bengal with a territorial area of approximately 3.3 million square kilometers. India is the seventh largest country in the world by land area. This vast territory encompasses an impressive variety of landscapes, from the majestic Himalayan mountain ranges in the north to the tropical beaches in the south. With over 1.3 billion inhabitants, the country is the second most populous on the planet, second only to China. This overcrowding is one of the main challenges faced by the Indian nation, imposing significant demands on areas such as infrastructure, public services, employment, and natural resources. Here, people live at the lowest or highest ends of society as a result of India's unique caste system. The social structure of India is shaped by a deeply entrenched system of discrimination known as caste. In this system, everyone is assigned to a specific class from birth, determining their social status and opportunities throughout life. This social arrangement is so intrinsic that even the most talented and capable individuals face limitations imposed by their caste. For example, imagine an individual gifted with great talent or a renowned scientist despite their exceptional abilities. If they belong to the base of the caste system, the servant class known as Sudras, their life is predestined to reflect the restrictions imposed by this social position. Even though their potential may be limitless, their reality is confined to the expectations and limited opportunities of that caste. Observing the streets of India, it is evident how the caste structure manifests in everyday life. Those who display cleanliness and personal care are often identified as belonging to the upper class of the system. Government officials, soldiers, or priests are examples of this social elite whose status is upheld by heredity and entrenched traditions. This caste distinction is not limited to just the socio-economic sphere but also permeates cultural, religious, and political aspects of Indian society. The caste structure deeply influences social interactions, determines access to resources and opportunities, and shapes individual aspirations and identities. But how did India's population reach the billion marks? Several factors have contributed to the exponential growth of the Indian population over the centuries. One of the main drivers is the high birth rate, influenced by a combination of social, cultural, and economic factors. Traditionally, large families were considered a blessing, ensuring a workforce for agriculture and providing support for parents in old age. This mindset has persisted over time, even with advancements in medicine and technology that have significantly reduced infant mortality rates and increased life expectancy. Additionally, the lack of widespread access to education and family planning contributes to the high birth rate. Many communities, especially in rural areas, still lack information about contraceptive methods and family planning, resulting in large families due to lack of choice or awareness. Another significant factor is the influence of religious and cultural beliefs in many parts of India, especially among Hindu and Muslim communities. Having children is considered a religious duty and a way to ensure the continuity of the family lineage. This mindset, coupled with limited access to sexual and reproductive education, contributes to the rising birth rate. Furthermore, rapid urbanization and internal migration also play a crucial role in population growth. Many people from rural areas migrate to cities in search of job opportunities and a better life, resulting in an increase in the urban population and contributing to the deterioration of Indian streets. The alarming rates of poverty, crime, and unemployment are evident symptoms of the crisis experienced in the country. While some struggle to survive on the margins of society, others sink into an abyss of despair, triggering an increase in crime amid the struggle for survival. The diversity of religious beliefs, far from uniting, often divides the nation, generating tensions and additional conflict. 90s, one of the most tangible manifestations of this crisis is the inability to keep the streets clean and habitable. The foul odor that permeates the narrow streets is a constant reminder of the lack of modern infrastructure. The absence of toilets in many households leads to the unpleasant practice of using open bathrooms, contributing to pollution and environmental degradation. In an attempt to control such a vast population, the Indian government resorts to draconian measures enforcing laws with often excessive discipline. However, these measures do not always succeed in containing the underlying problems, and crime persists, although at comparatively lower levels than in other countries. Despite efforts to address these challenges, the more than 50,000 annual deaths from homicides are a grim reminder of the fragility of public security. The country's capital, New Delhi, has 32 million inhabitants, while Mumbai has 22 million. On the west coast, the region with the largest population concentration in India is the state of Uttar Pradesh, with approximately 240 million people and an area of 243,000 square kilometers. Here, about 60% of the population lives in slums, while the rest live in better conditions because they work for large companies operating in India and have the money to pay rent. Now a question for you, how much do you think the cost of living in India is? In New Delhi, housing costs are considered the highest in the country. In central areas of the city, a one-bedroom apartment can cost between 15,000 to 30,000 Indian rupees per month, which is approximately $200 to $400. This reality reflects the enormous demand for housing in an overcrowded metropolis like New Delhi. Rent is indeed one of the biggest expenses for the local population, especially for the middle and lower classes. In contrast, the minimum wage in India is relatively low compared to the cost of living, especially in large cities. Currently, the national minimum wage is approximately 5,000 rupees per month, or about $65. This amount, although recently increased by the Indian government, is still insufficient to cover basic expenses for housing, food, and other essential needs, especially for those living in urban centers. To give you an idea of how extremely low the minimum wage is in India, for a person living alone in the center of the capital, only expenses for water, electricity, and gas cost about $50, which is practically the entire amount of the minimum wage, and now a practice existing in India that will leave you incredulous: the search for gold in the sewers. Here gold hunters, often coming from the most marginalized layers of society, dedicate themselves to an unusual practice, scavenging through sewers in search of gold particles and other precious metals. Gold, silver, platinum, and other metals are dumped into the sewers by local industries, jewelers, and even citizens in their household sewage, equipped with rudimentary tools and often without adequate protection. These gold hunters descend into the dark tunnels of the sewers, plunging into contaminated and fetid waters in search of their precious rewards. Armed only with their determination and courage, they face dangerous and unhealthy conditions in pursuit of a chance to improve their lives. If you travel to India, don't miss the opportunity to try the famous Indian street foods. These foods are often prepared in a somewhat unhygienic manner. To say the least, the foods are made with dirty hands, and in many cases, we can see the foods being made on completely dirty ground. If these images have opened your appetite, know that there are plenty of food options for you in India. Costing less than $1, we can find a multitude of foods with varied flavors and appearances. The difficult part is finding something that looks trustworthy to eat and won't cause violent diarrhea. As we walk through the streets of Indian cities, especially in Mumbai and New Delhi, we can see a crowd of people with every step focusing on the faces of people may indicate that they do not lead a happy life, either by appearance, facial expressions, or the houses they live in. Children do not go to school, and many houses lack electrical facilities. Most people living in slums make a living by collecting garbage and working with scrap. This fundamental working class is responsible for over $1 billion in India's annual revenue. Despite the large number of workers, most people cannot earn more than $50 per month. However, there is something admirable there, as well as in Bangladesh. People in India do not care about their salary. They take any job because it is their only option. Survival. An example of this sad reality is plastic recycling sites where used plastic is recycled to produce new materials. Workers repeat the same movements continuously. Figuratively speaking, they are like machines made so that members of the upper class can live comfortably under the caste system. Houses in these regions are crowded, and many of them are not even painted. They have metal sheet roofs and small rooms where more than 5 people sleep together. You've probably heard that cows are sacred in India, but do you know the story behind it here? Cows have been revered and considered sacred for millennia, being a revered symbol in Hindu culture and religion. This reverence has deep roots in the country's traditions and religious beliefs, reflecting various aspects of everyday life. The sacredness of cows is linked to the Hindu goddess Kamadhenu, often portrayed as a divine cow that grants wishes and provides abundance. Furthermore, cows are associated with other Hindu deities, such as Krishna, who is frequently depicted herding cows in mythological stories. It is extremely common to encounter cows freely roaming the streets in many Indian cities and villages. This picturesque scene demonstrates the coexistence between urban and rural life, where cows wander through roads, parks, and even markets, while residents and passers-by peacefully coexist with these animals. However, it is important to highlight that, due to their sacredness, killing a cow in India is considered an extremely serious act and is punishable by law. In many Indian states, cow slaughter is prohibited and can result in severe penalties, including heavy fines and even imprisonment. In addition to legal consequences, killing a cow in India can also lead to severe social repercussions in many communities. This is viewed as a grave offense and can result in ostracism and retaliation from the local population. India is certainly a magnificent country full of beauty, but for those of us with a very different culture, it's completely shocking to our eyes. The Ganges River, considered sacred by Hindus and revered as a symbol of spirituality, is one of the most polluted rivers in the world. Seeing its murky, foul-smelling waters choked with garbage and debris confronts us with a stark reality that sharply contrasts with the reverence and devotion it inspires in millions of people. The rampant pollution of the Ganges is a painful testament to the environmental and sanitary challenges India faces every day. People enter its waters seeking purification and spiritual renewal. But for us, this is something very difficult to comprehend, as it is far from our reality. So hopefully you did enjoy the video. Let me know your thoughts in the comment down below. Also don't forget to subscribe and turn on the bell icon for more videos like this one. We will see you in the next video. Thank you.